We're going to talk about ropes and their uses in the fire service. Obviously, there's different categories of ropes that you will be using for utility purposes and for life safety purposes. NFPA 1983 is the standard that is written on life safety rope and rescue equipment. If you have not read that and you're considering on purchasing equipment, I would strongly recommend you reading this document and familiarizing yourself with it before you make such purchases. As far as rope is concerned, often a lot of times rope is overlooked on the scene of a call, and my personal feelings is a lot of times we can move equipment and accessories a lot safer and a lot faster into an interior of a building versus just carrying it or manhandling it and taking it up a ladder. The rope that I'm holding right now is one of the traditional ropes. It's been around the fire service for many years. It's a manila rope of a twisted and laid construction. Like I said, I honestly feel that every fire apparatus should have at least one length of rope on the apparatus for utility purposes. A rope that's getting a lot of acceptance into the fire service today is your your synthetic man-made fiber, such as this nylon rope that I'm holding in front of you right now. You'll notice that the two ropes look similar in design as far as construction is concerned. The one in my right hand is your manila, the natural fiber. The one on my left is the nylon synthetic type fibers. Some of the big advantages that the nylon offers that the manila rope is not, it usually comparative on diameter size. For diameter size, your nylon or your synthetic type fibers is going to have a higher breaking strength. They are not as susceptible to damage due to being in contact with chemicals, whereas your manila rope would be. So you're starting to see a lot more departments switch over to your nylon and synthetic type fibers. As far as care and maintenance of these two ropes, obviously we want to take extreme care of it. Visual inspections is extremely important. After each use, and if the rope is not used for an extended period of time, we recommend that you remove it from your apparatus and do some inspection and or cleaning, whichever you dictate would need to be done. The way that you would have to inspect this twisted or laid construction is obviously you would want to remove the entire contents from the bag or the container that it's carried in, or however you're storing the rope on your department. You normally take the rope, place it between your two hands, and twist it in a counterclockwise fashion. And what you're doing at that time, you're going to expose the inside fibers of the rope. You're going to do this periodically along the length of the rope. You're going to run it through maybe another 5-6 feet, do the same thing again. Twist it, exposing these inside fibers on the side of the rope. If you notice a lot of deterioration or fibers that is broke, you may want to consider on cutting that rope at that particular point and either removing the injured piece, and if the rope is not long enough for you to continue to discard this possibly for a training rope or to be used otherwise in your department. Okay. Another rope that you're going to see a lot, I mentioned this briefly a little bit earlier in your NFPA standards as far as life safety rope. This is, again, a nylon synthetic type fiber. This is a nylon rope. The main difference between the rope that I'm holding here and this one here is the construction. Like I said earlier, this is a later twisted. The rope that I got here is a static kern mantle rope. Kern mantle is the construction principles of the rope. Actually, it is two ropes in one. If I was to take this rope and cut it, there's inside fibers in here are running the continuous length parallel inside the rope. Depending on your manufacturer, these are going to run anywhere carrying about 80 to 90% of the main breaking strength of the rope. The outside fibers, or the mantle of the rope, is the abrasion resistance factor built into this rope. There's been many and numerous tests run on the different types of constructions of rope. The one that I've seen earlier before, what they've done is run this ropes, or the ropes that they tested over an abrasive surface, whether it be a file or a sandstone, and your kern mantle ropes have been superior as far as abrasion resistance and wear and tear versus your laid and twisted. So if you're going to go out and purchase rope for life safety and lifelines, probably the rope of your choice is going to be a kern mantle type construction. The way that you would inspect this type of rope, obviously there's no way to twist it to open it up to expose those inside fibers. You're still going to conduct to do your visual inspection. What you'll want to do is take your your finger and your thumb while you're inspecting this and run it down the length of your rope. While you're doing that, you're going to twist, check to make sure that you have no outside sheath penetration. If you do have outside sheath penetration, you may want to consider on cutting that rope, discarding the bad portion, and then again, if it's a usable length, you can go ahead and use it. If not, you're going to have to downgrade this rope and retire it from service or use it for training applications. Also, while you're running the rope through your hands, if you feel a mild depression, that may be signs that you've got some of your internal fibers that are broken on the inside. If you're not really 100% certain, if you did feel a depression, what some people will do is secure the two ends of the rope between an object, place a mild amount of tension on it. They'll run their finger down the length of that rope again, and then if they do have that depression, you're pretty much certain that you may have internal fibers broken inside that rope. If so, it's probably going to be your advantage to cut it and discard this rope and take it out of service. Somewhat as a cost-saving factor in your department, I mentioned briefly a couple times that while we visually inspected these ropes, that we have considered there was enough rope damage that we wanted to take it out of service. The lifeline that I talked a little bit about earlier, let's say that now we've decided to cut this and we're going to downgrade the rope to training or possibly a utility rope. That could be done just because our lifeline has now been used or been damaged and we're going to cut it, don't necessarily mean that we're going to throw it away completely. This can be used for other applications. The main thing of it is, excuse me, if you do this and you once considered this your lifeline, it is extremely important for all your personnel on your department to know that this is no longer a lifeline. We have downgraded its service to utility rope. Now we're going to demonstrate to you the rope itself, the proper names for the certain portions of the rope, and the elements of a knot. First thing that we're going to show you is a knot is comprised of one of three elements: a loop, a bite, or a round turn. It's either a single one of those elements or all three of them in a combination together is going to comprise all the knots that we're going to show you today. Also, as far as the rope is concerned, it has two pieces. The free running end, which is no more than the very end or the tip end of the rope itself, and the standing part of the rope, which is used for hoisting and or hauling. So you have the free running, which is the very end of the rope, and the standing portion, which is used for hoisting and hauling. As far as storage of the rope is concerned, there's a couple different ways you can do it. The conventional way that is illustrated in a lot of your reference manuals by using either ends of some chair legs or the end of a 14-foot roof ladder to coil the rope around. But another way that's gaining a lot of acceptance in the fire service is what is referred to as the rope bag, as you see in front of you here. It's no more than a matter of a bag that you can either buy from a supplier, fire equipment supplier, or a manufacturer, or you can purchase these yourself or make them yourself. You'll notice that the rope, once I pull it out of the bag, it just plays out real easily. What's nice about it, when you're done and you're ready to put the rope back in the bag, there's no fancy technique about it. It's just a matter of shoving the rope right back in the bag. You don't want to twist it. You don't want to make any special loops or coils. You're just merely going to shove the rope right directly back in the bag. Once the end of the rope is done, secure it to the outside handle in some fashion so you don't lose the end of your rope, and your rope is stored in the bag. In order to deploy the rope bag over to the side of the building, take the free or the running end out of the bag, secure it to an object. Once that is done, the firefighter will walk over to the edge of the building, take the bag, and drop it to the ground level. You notice how freely that the rope plays out of the bag, no tanglement. It's a quick and efficient way to deploy your rope. In order to tie the clove hitch, it's just a matter of placing two half hitches. Each of those half hitches is going to be turned in an opposite direction, as Captain Wilcox is going to demonstrate for you now.
To lay a half hitch is simply a matter of taking the standing part of the rope and putting it under the running part. You lay another half hitch in the same direction alongside of the first one, and then place the second one on top of the first one. And after, when the clove hitch is formed, it can then be placed over the tool. And the way you can tell a clove hitch is proper when you've got it together is that the standing and the running end come out in opposite directions and they're trapped by a bite over the top of it.
A lot of times on the scene of a call, that is the easiest and the quickest way to apply a clove hitch to the article that you're going to tie it to. But sometimes we're not able to slide our clove hitch onto the object that we're securing it to, maybe be a utility pole, a large tree in the yard, or whatever else. So it's extremely important that the firefighter know how to tie the clove hitch onto an object by actually using the free running and the standing ends of the rope as well.
In order to form a clove hitch on an object that you cannot slide it onto the end of, lay the running end of the line over the object, pass a turn around to the left, or correction, to your right side of the rope that you laid across, cross over to the left side, turn around the object, and pass the end through the bite that you made by performing that procedure. When you pull that together tight, you end up with a clove hitch, again, with a running end and a standing end, or trapped over a bite. Now, if you look at that, and if I form a clove hitch in the air by turning a half hitch, turning a second half hitch, laying it across the first one, and feeding that onto the object, I put these side by side, you'll see that the knot is, in fact, identical.
The knot that we're going to do now is referred to as the bowline. Captain Wilcox will demonstrate the techniques for tying the bowline. First, he's going to start by forming a loop in the rope. Once the loop is formed, he will take the free running end of the rope, bring it out of the loop. He'll come behind the main standing portion of the rope. Then he will take the free ending rope and go in his original loop that he formed at the very beginning. Some of the items that is commonly used on the scene of a fire that could be hoisted or raised up to the upper levels of the floor are what you see before you here. And they can run from anything from your pickhead axe to a hose line with a nozzle attached, your pike poles, a roof ladder, smoke ejectors, and various appliances like that. I think one of the residual fears of most firefighters, and the reason a lot of times these are probably not hoisted, is because of their ability not able to tie the knots properly and correctly. We strongly recommend that each firefighter take an adequate amount of time, learn to tie these knots correctly, and practice them in training exercises in your own department. Now that the rope has been deployed off over the side of the building and we're ready to start hoisting our tools of choice to the building, we don't necessarily need the very end of the rope in order to do these hoisting techniques. I can come up, pick up the rope at its desired configuration, make the clove hitch that we talked about a little bit earlier, placing it on the pike pole. Now we'll come back and place 2 half hitches in there. Two half hitches is more than enough on a pike pole. A lot of firemen will get half hitch crazy, I say a lot of times, and they'll put if they got 100 feet of rope left over, they think they have to use up all 100 feet of that to put half hitches on there. The more knots that you put on at ground level is the more knots that they're going to have to take off up above. Clove hitch, 2 half hitches is more than enough for this type of operation. There's some debate, and that will be for your department to decide on which end of the tool that you want to hoist up first. As you can see right here, we're going to hoist the pike end or the pointed end of the pike pole up first. We feel that we have less chances of this being hooked or caught on some of the obstruction going up over the roof level, or if we did not tie the knots properly and it did slide out, hopefully that the blunt end of the pike pole is going to strike the ground level first. But that's a decision that you're going to have to make internally in your department. Okay. Let's hoist this up to our firefighter. Okay. Another reason that if we leave the remaining portion of the rope in the bag, we got some tag line that our firefighter can assist in the hoisting operation. Okay, let's go ahead and hoist this up. Let's hoist an axe up I'm going to show you 3 different techniques or 3 different variations of ways that you could tie the axe onto the rope in order for hoisting it. We'll demonstrate 3 of these for you, and on the last one we'll actually hoist it up to the 3rd floor level. The first, we'll do this by making a clove hitch by placing the 2 half hitches and stacked on top of each other. But before we lay them on top of each other, we need to place one of the loops over the face of the axe, and then the other one will go around the pick head portion of the axe. Now we've created our clove hitch on the head portion of the axe. Then we will come up here on the handle length. We'll put a half hitch on the length of the handle. And now we're ready to actually hoist the axe. That is one variation of a way to hoist an axe. Another technique is you can make a bight in your rope and fold it over. Some people will refer to this knot as a girth hitch. So once I made a bight, I fold it over on it. The other one will go over the pick head end of the axe. We have a good secure knot there. We can come up here, placing a clove hitch on the handle of the axe, thereby securing it in order to hoist it. One thing I want to demonstrate at this time, and the main reason that we tie these knots like this, is not only are they easy to tie, but they're easy to untie. Often it gets very frustrating for the firefighter on the roof. If I tied a knot that was difficult to tie, they're going to have difficulty to untie it up on the roof. The last one that you see used a lot, and we prefer this because it's real quick and easy to tie. The firefighter can walk over here, has his axe, he grabs the rope, he'll lay the rope across the face of the axe. He'll take the standing end of the rope, come around behind the handle. At this time, all he's got to do is actually tilt the axe back on the pick head portion, lay the rope completely underneath the bottom of the axe. Now he has the head portion of the axe secured. And it's just a matter of coming up, placing a half hitch into the rope, and securing it on the handle, and we're ready to hoist. Okay, let's go ahead and hoist this, Chuck. Let's say that the situation requires that you need an additional roof ladder hoisted up to the roof of your building, or maybe up to a high-rise setting, 3rd, 4th floor apartment or whatever else, and now you want this roof ladder up there, and we decided we're going to hoist it with a rope. The way that we'll do that, the knot that we're going to use, is the bowline that we demonstrated for you earlier. The main key point to keep in mind here is we need to form a very large loop while tying this bowline. So remember the bowline, we made a bight, came out of the bight, around behind the standing end of the rope, and back down through the bight. Now we formed us a very large loop. What we need to do at this time is we need to come back approximately 1/3 the length of the ladder, or approximately 4 rungs, and we're going to lay this loop on the bottom side of the ladder. Okay. Once it's underneath there, I'm going to bring the loop up, lay it over the outside rails of the ladder, and I'm going to come back here on the standing portion of the rope and draw it down tight. Depending on the situation, how high you're going to hoist it, and what it needs to be done, a lot of times you will not need a tag line, but in this situation we're going to go ahead and tie a tag line onto the bottom of the ladder. We're going to do 2 different techniques of hoisting hose lines. The first that we're going to demonstrate is hoisting a dry charge, or a dry line, no water in it. Obviously this would be the preferred way to hoist a hose line, just strictly because you're not dealing with the weight of the water in it. So anytime that you can hoist a hose line, if you got your choices, obviously you want to try to do a dry line. In order to do that, we need to take the hose and double it back on itself with the nozzle attached, and we got the bail, or the shut-off end of the nozzle, laying against the hose itself. At this time, we're going to come back and tie a clove hitch close to the shut-off assembly of the nozzle. Tie the clove hitch, put an additional safety in there. Now that we got the nozzle portion secured, we're going to come back and place a couple half hitches. On the length of the hose. Now we're ready to start hoisting. Now let's do a charged hose line. In order to tie the knots for a charged hose line, first I'm going to place a clove hitch right directly adjacent to the coupling of the nozzle, or where the nozzle and the hose is attached. After the clove hitch has been tied, what I'm going to do now is place a half hitch on there. The half hitch, once I have the half hitch twisted into the rope, I'm going to put it in the bail of the nozzle, take it up and put it behind the nozzle, and now tighten it down. What this is going to do, in the event when we're hoisting it, if the bail of the nozzle was to catch on an obstruction, this is hopefully going to keep this nozzle from being opened up and the stream of water hitting the firefighters up above. So a clove hitch, a half hitch, which is placed in between the bail of the nozzle, up, around, and behind, and now we're ready to hoist it. You're going to see here the effort that's going to be required by the hoisting people on the top. So anytime you hoist a hose line, preferably you're going to hoist a dry line and not a charged line. But if you have to, this is the technique that you're going to have to use. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and hoist it. Come on, give me some more rope. We strongly recommend that each firefighter take an adequate amount of time, learn to tie these knots correctly, and practice them in training exercises in your own department. We feel that a person can quickly and efficiently hoist and lift tools up to the roof or to a upper floor level of a building faster than they can carry them with a hand line or up a ladder or things of that nature. Go out and train and make your department a lot more successful.